Hey there, beautiful souls, Avalon here, and it is so nice to be hanging out with you again. We have all been so sick here, week after week after week, after a nasty virus came through. So I am so happy to be back and healthy and able to talk to you. Today's video is going to focus on some of my witchiest tarot decks. Now, I want to preface this by saying these are not decks that are necessarily titled with the word witch in it, that are, portrayed as a witch deck. These are decks that just simply hold a really beautiful, natural, mysterious, elegant, enthralling energy of witchiness within them. So these are decks that I personally use in my witches practice, my folk magical practice, in some way, shape or form, decks that I feel very akin to, very kindred to, and I'll explain why. And they will be in no particular order because I cannot be bothered doing that, okay? But thank you so much for sticking with me while I get through this video. I hope to give a little love to some of the older decks that I seldom see talked about, because I'm all about that, I'm all about that. And maybe some new decks, who knows? All right, let's get into it. The first tarot deck that I'm going to show you is a really sweet one. It is, can you tell from the backing? Can you tell from the backing? This is the WITCHCRAFT tarot. This is the box. I keep mine in the box, and it is written by Letitia Guthrie and artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert. So this lovely little deck has been in my collection for a while. It's by no means a new release, and it has that naturopathic herbal medicine edge to it, which I find very much connected to the practice of witchcraft and folk magic. A great many witches that I know are either naturopaths or aromatic medicine practitioners or herbalists in some way, shape or form, or just fantastic growers, like really beautiful green thumbs. I am trying to cultivate my green thumb at the moment, and I just find this deck to be so gentle to work with, gentle and healing, and just very inspiring, especially that green side of my practice, that I want to understand plant medicine better, not just the magical aspects of plants, which I understand quite well, but the medicinal aspects of plants. And so number one is the WITCHCRAFT tarot. Number two is an oldie but a goldie. You'll recognize this one. Wildwood Tarot. We have Will Worthington artwork, Mark Ryan and John Matthews. If you don't know those names, they are druidic in nature. And so therefore we have a very earth-centric wildwood just energy attached to this deck. The backing is superb, simple yet superb. This is what it looks like, completely reversible. And then you have this gorgeous, gorgeous artwork by Will Worthington. There is something ancient and captivating. Not that it's part of the theme of this deck, but I always feel very Merlin, Arthurian legend whenever I'm working with the Wildwood. It's a sharp deck. This one has teeth. It is very pragmatic, and it has a wild kind of green man edge to it, which I find to be absolutely fascinating. It incorporates animals as well as human figures, and there is a lot to be said in the guidebook about it all. The guidebook is, it's chef's kiss. It's very witchy. It follows that upside down, somewhere upside down, I apologize. It follows that Wheel of the Year, the Wheel of 8, and there's such reverence to be found within this deck, and I had to include it. So that is the Wildwood Tarot at number 2. At number 3 is a deck that I acquired such a long time ago. I mean, over 10 years ago, I would say. Easy, easy. Over 10 years, maybe over 15 years ago. Maybe even more, maybe even more. It is, if you can't tell from the backing, it's not a common deck. I never see this one. I never see this one on social media. This is the Celtic Wisdom Tarot. And it is so unique. It is so sweet. It's got this kind of whimsical, drawn, almost like kids' art feel to it, but it's not. And I'm not trying to be derogatory to the artist that did this. I can't remember. I can't actually remember the name of the artist or the illustrator. I do have the guidebook for this, but it is elsewhere. And so there's just such a sweet storybook kind of vibe to this deck, and because it revolves around that Celtic landscape, that Celtic wisdom, I always think the wildwood going back there, and I always think of that Celtic mythology and the magic that the Celts really cultivated during their reign. And so it's a sweet little deck. I don't use this one as much as I could. This has become more of a collector's piece, but when I first got it, and I believe I got it secondhand off eBay back in the day, when I first obtained it, I worked with it all the time, and I'm not sure if it was at the same time as I was doing my my Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids year. I did my Bardic grade through the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. Anyway, not the point, but this one here was well used during that time. So that's number 3, the Celtic Wisdom Tarot. The next deck doesn't really need that much of an introduction. You can see the back of it. This is ginormous. It is the WITCHCRAFT Tarot, and I don't think I need to explain why. This one feels witchy, but in a really grounded, earthy way. I love a good earthy energy within my witchy decks. The artwork, I believe it was Will Worthington, I believe, is just so beautiful, like up close. This is one of the best decks that I have found, not the only one, but one of the best that I have found that is fantastic for path working with tarot. So you can really step into this one. It feels very illustrated, story, almost Tolkien-esque. I'm very careful when I mention Tolkien, very careful. I have mad respect for the author. I think this one is just gorgeous. There's a medicine to this deck. It's a medicine to all these decks. What am I talking about? So what was that? Is this number 4? I think this is number 4. I'm going to lose count, so I shan't mention any more numbers because I just think I will lose count. But an absolutely beautiful deck, very gentle, very soft, yet deeply wise. It has such a... it's almost got a coaching energy to it, if I'm being entirely truthful. So, WITCHCRAFT Tarot. Mwah. Chef's kiss. I'm going to be a bit cheeky here. You'll see why. At number 5, I'm going to put forth my Bones of the Bone Stone. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why this gorgeous deck is witchy. It's obviously devoid of colour. It's in sepia. It takes away the saturation aspect, which... like I quite love. I love a saturated deck. I love a colourful deck. But there's something really special, something almost gossamer and skeletal that lends this deck itself to ancestral work. It is a superb ancestral deck. And at the time that I created it with Anna, that wasn't the intention. It just lends itself to that work naturally, because of how it moves. I reach for this deck whenever I'm trying to connect more with my ancestors, or whenever I need a kind of non-biased type of guidance that feels very, for me, I'm looking for grandmother energy. when I do this. I'm looking for my grandmother. I'm like, I need my grandmother in this moment. So again, very ancestral in its move to do so. But, it drinks you in. It's a very honest, gentle, but honest sort of a deck. I'm quite proud of it, actually. It's funny, when you're a tarot creator and you create a deck, you might have a vision for that deck that you're imposing upon that deck, but the way that it's received and the way that people use it and the best uses for that deck emerges from a collective experience, in my humble opinion. This is not to say that we don't all have our unique ways of working with specific decks that aren't mimicked by others. That's indeed true, but there's a truth in that collective experience. So that is the Bones of the Bone Stone Tarot by yours truly. It's still available on Make Playing Cards. I'll leave the link to this one. This is still available. I'm not sure for how long this will continue to be available for, only because I'm not sure if I will be, you know, kind of contradicting my contract with my publisher to have this up. I need to look into it. So maybe, I'm not saying it will disappear. I'm just saying I need to double check that. So that's number 5, the Bones of the Bone Stone. All right, number 6 does have witch in the title, but it's become a bit of an interesting kind of favorite of mine. It's weird. Favorite's a bit of a stretch, actually. Favorite's a bit of a stretch, but it's got something. It's got something. And I haven't had it for long enough to consider it to be a favorite, but it's got something. So I needed to mention it. Plus, I feel like the decks that I've shown you thus far are largely from the archives, which I love personally, because that's when decks were amazing. Not saying that decks today aren't, but there was just something about OG decks. All right, this one here is the Nova Witch Tarot. And this one is by Suki Ferguson and Anna Novas. So it is so beautiful to work with. The color palette is just, it's shadowed and curious, and it's downplayed, but the artwork just pops. There is some interesting symbolism found throughout. I am often like scratching my head going, what? Which I don't mind. I actually like being pushed out of my comfort zone. I will say this though, when I unbox it, and I recently did a full flip through of this deck, I'll link it in the cards up here. But I will say this, at the time that I did that unboxing, I said that the deck in the guidebook, it says it's you know, it's meant for beginner tarot readers. And I said that I disagreed with that assessment. I continue to disagree with that assessment. I would not recommend this to a beginner unless you are an incredibly intuitive, bordering on psychic person. I wouldn't recommend this. Not to a beginner, but to an intermediate tarot reader. You'll just have so much fun with this. You'll just have so much fun with it. And it's going to question a couple of like set ideals, and I don't know, you'll either love the artwork or you'll think it's perplexing. Either way, you're going to have a reaction to it. And that's what I'm looking for. So that is, I love the backing. Still reminds me of Morgan Greer. Yes, the, oh my gosh, Nova Witch Tarot. The Nova Witch Tarot. Very cool, hey? The next one that I have for you, this is a bit of a stretch. It might seem like a stretch to you. To me, it just feels right to include this in my witchier decks, because it reminds me of like witch compass work, that kind of thing. It reminds me of the wheel, and it reminds me of the seasons. This is a self-pub deck that I picked up a couple of years back. It is called the True North Tarot. I haven't put it through a rigorous testing, but it is unusual. It makes me think of the Fountain Tarot a little bit. Not because it's the same, but it lends itself to that. The cardstock is so waxy and beautiful. The idea behind the deck, I'm not sure where it came from, but you've got this kind of, what are they, opalescent kind of spot glossing on a landscape. And this is definitely not a deck for beginners, definitely not. But there's this kind of like journey to this deck. It's a really good path working, journey work, meditation kind of deck. And there's this, it's a little bit of a call to action deck as well. There are times where I have pulled, let's say, and I'll just use this as an example, the Ace of Wands. And I feel a call to go to the deep woods and take a candle and then stand in that woods with a candle, feeling dangerous, because especially here in Australia, bushfires are no joke, okay? I do this respectfully and reverently and very, very carefully, but I stand there with fire next to wood, and it feels like a chaos experience. It feels extremely challenging. And so it's a call to action kind of deck, and it definitely makes me feel uncomfortable, which I love. I love it. I love it. Not for everyone. I've shown this deck to a few of my friends and they're just like, nah. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. I'm showing it to you and you can go, nah. That's okay. We can all like different things. And I'm not saying that any of the decks that I have shown you today are stunningly, artistically beautiful necessarily. Some of them are, yes. They are not the most beautiful, but they are the most witchy to me in that way. So that's the true north. The next one I'm going to show you is a deck that I like to call my Beltane deck. My Beltane deck. That is the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. This deck, I love it. This is the original self-published version that I had. When I first saw this deck, I was in this beautiful Avalon metaphysical store on the central coast of New South Wales, and I was visiting, and I saw it, and the owner, Joe, showed me this deck, and I was like, nah, not for me. Immediately, like, just immediately, nah, not for me. I went back to where I was staying, my accommodation, and the deck just kept on appearing in my mind, and I was like, oh, actually that was a good deck. Why did I have some, you know, like I had that negotiation with myself, like what the hell? What happened? What was the go there? And then I called Joe, and then it became this rush. I'm traveling, I'm going here, I'm going there. I ended up having 2 copies sent to me. One for me to keep and one for me to sell. And at the time I was curating a little collection of decks to sell to my friends. I was a part of a very big pagan circle in the far north of my country. And a friend of mine, Alicia, bought one. Oh, it's upside down. I'm not even looking. Because I do reversals with this one. And it's quite topsy-turvy at the moment. But Gabby Angus West does this beautiful vintage tattoo art that works with a tarot deck. It just does. And she's Australian, so we've got pine cones and we've got this... sakes. I'll pick that up in a minute. We've got this incredible, like, busy kind of, look at the lovers, artwork. It's just spectacular. It's spectacular. I take my hat off to Gabby Angus West. She's been around in the tarot community, especially here in Australia, for a long time. This is her crown jewel as far as I'm concerned. She has put other decks out, but I love this deck. And the Self Pub is the perfect size tarot deck for me. The perfect cardstock, the perfect size. It's just perfection. This has now been made to go to mass market, so you can acquire this. I can't remember the company, maybe US Games, maybe Rockpool, I'm not sure. But you can get this deck now. It's probably on Amazon, I don't know. But the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. Very Beltane, very fire, very witchy, very Australian in a way, and I love it. The next deck is created, or was created, by one of my favorite deck creator companies. Yeah? I'm talking about Layla and Olive. This here is the Viola Lux Umbra Tarot, but hey, the Ophidia Rosa as well. Just the Ophidia Rosa as well. There is something about the Viola Lux Umbra that I feel was refined. And so let's have a look at it. Firstly, little guidebook, backing. Oh, delish. Really beautiful gold brushed edges. Very tea-stained look to it. This one feels like apothecary art on ancient parchment. Botanical inspired, if you will. It has poetry woven into it just naturally. It feels romantic and magical, very feminine. And it's simple, minimalistic, yet incredibly effective. And it is definitely one of those beautiful collector decks. I like to work with my decks, so I haven't yet put this one to really good use, to really good working use yet, but I do plan on it, so it's a vibe. But this is the Viola Lux Umbra, and like the Ophidia Rosa, she is just, she's so beautiful to work with. She's so witchy. She's so new moon, full moon, and ritual. And it's the type of deck that I'd like to bring into a ritual, into a circle, into a sacred space with me. It's that special. It's that beautiful. And very witchy because of that. Very, very witchy because of that. So that is the Viola Lux Umbra Tarot by Layla and Olive. Such great decks. Such collector pieces as well, I will say that. I think they have 4 decks out now. They have the Pythia Botanica, the Ophidia Rosa, this one, and I think there's one more that I can't remember. But there we have it. Another beautifully witchy deck. This next deck has a total witchy theme to it. There's witch in the title, and it is very, very witchy in a really cute way, I think, at the very least. These are all subjective opinions, of course. But the reason why I've included this is because this deck was done by none other than Anne Moira, the author of the iconic Green Witchcraft series of books that was really big in the 90s. So here we have the Green Witch Tarot by Anne Moira. This is very, very witchy. Very traditionally storybook witchy. Personally, I would have liked to have seen different art, a different style of art for this deck, because when I think Green Witchcraft, I don't think this sweetness here. I think of something with a bit more toothiness to it, but I still think it's a really sweet deck. And it does have a medicine, and it does have a story, and it is very gentle, and it is very wise, and it feels like a little bit of a touchstone deck, if you will. You're connected to Anne Moira, therefore you're connected to her work, therefore you're connected to witchcraft whenever you use this deck. And it's just so sweet. It tells a story, it has a warmth to it, just a natural sweet warmth to it. It is the witch equivalent of, dare I say, the Gilmore Girls. Weird stretch. If the Gilmore Girls were really witchy, it'd look a bit like this, I think. Just feels, just vibes, if you know what I mean, just vibes. Don't want to make any erroneous statements. Just the vibes, folks. So that's the Green Witch Tarot by Anne Moira. This next deck is very Arwen, very Muse, okay? And when I'm saying Arwen, I mean the druidic concept of inspiration and magic and energy, Arwen. This one is quite modern. It took me a minute to really fall in love with it, but I'm in love. I'm absolutely in love. And the thing that I love about this deck is that it lends you to this fiercely feminine energy, and it cultivates this need for inspiration. So of course I'm talking about the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann, yet another creator of tarot that I absolutely love. Chris Ann can do no wrong. And let me just go on a little tangent here. Be very, very careful when you are online shopping for any Chris Ann decks, because there are a great many fraudulent decks out there mimicking her deck. And of course, I'm the type of person that I believe we should support our artists. And so, you know, if the deck says that it's $2 on Shein, it's not her deck, okay? It's not her deck. So please, support the artist. But here we have, look at this, like, pinky, peachy salmon edging, which I have never seen before. The backing is just gorge. It's gorge. This is a very feminine deck. This deck is all heart, all woman, all power, all creativity. And what could be more fiery and witchy than that? It's a deck that will leave you exploring. It's a deck that challenges and that pushes you and, you know, just gets you to look outside the box and shift your perspective. And it is such a good deck. Such a beautiful deck. I would recommend this deck to anyone. Very feminine, so I would recommend this to anyone, really. And I would just say this is one to have. Okay, think about it this way. Get the girls over. Make yourself a big punch bowl. Spike the punch, for fuck's sake. Spike it, because live once. And sit around with journals and incense and candles and drink punch and laugh and write down ideas that is going to expand your horizons and build a brighter future for yourself. This is the deck to do that. That's some witchcraft right there. That's some ritual, deep work right there. It's so good. It's so, so, so good. And Chris Ann seems to just nail that creator energy. She is superb in what she does. Her oracle decks are, like, still blow my mind to this day. To this day. And that is the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann. Look at the lid. It's so pretty. Look at that. Everything about this deck is just gorgeous. Oh, I got copy 100, maybe 1117 or 71, who knows. But It was done in 2000. I totally forgot that. I totally forgot about that. I think this one has been picked up by Hay House. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. So there we have it, my beautiful souls. This is by no means anywhere near all of the decks that I consider to be super duper witchy and that I use in my own personal folk witch practice and spirit witch practice and ancestral practice, and call it what you will. My witch practice, there we go. These are some of the decks that have proven to me through time and tested outputs that they are just bred for that type of work. They hold that energy inherent within them. You may disagree, and that's totally fine. And, you know, it's subjective. These experiences are very personal and they're very subjective, but this is a little look, a teensy little look at a tiny, tiny portion of my collection. And these are the decks that I feel are very witchy. I want to do another video that feels very much like this, but with a more occult edge to it. But I'm not sure if I have quite enough occult inspired decks to do that. I may. I'll have to see. But for right now, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for allowing me to share this little part of my personal practice with you. Once again, this is all personal. This is all subjective. And I would love to hear from you what you consider to be not your typical witchy deck, but still a very witchy deck nonetheless, because I'm always looking for that type of energy in a deck. And yeah, I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to discover new decks. I'm always looking to find that deck that just takes my breath away. Always. I'm always on the hunt for it. And so I would love to hear from you, so please do type out those recommendations, type out those suggestions, because I'm so here for it. I am so here for it. And with all of that said and done, my beautiful souls, I'm wishing you so much love, luck, peace, and joy. I sincerely hope that you are all doing well, and I hope to chat to you again soon. Mwah! Bye!